They probably ain't gonna understand what I'm talking about. These people won't challenge. I got inside my to make sure I don't panic. I took extras inside the car. Now my whip panoramic. I went hard and became a star. Now everybody want a candy.
Hi everyone and good evening. Welcome to the Matt Painter Radio Show. We're happy to greet you on this Tuesday night from Wolfie's Grill, Wabash Landing in West Lafayette. I am your host, Rob Blackman, and the head coach of the Boilermakers, Matt Painter, will join me in just a moment. This reminder, the Coach Painter Show brought to you tonight, as it always is, by GEMCO Constructors. We do have a lot to talk about with the coach. As you might imagine, we haven't had a Coach Painter Show in the last 2 weeks, simply because of, well, actually, the reason we didn't have one a week ago, Purdue thought they were going to be traveling to Michigan. That game did not happen, however, because of some health and safety protocol issues within the Michigan program. By the way, I can tell you this, fans, I just found out today, it's probably next week is when we will find out a firm date on when that Purdue-Michigan game will be rescheduled. So we're probably going to find that out next week, it sounds like, from the folks at the Big Ten. However, even with that game postponed, Purdue has still played 3 games since we have last spoken to Coach Painter here on the show. All 3 of them victories, which is certainly a positive for our Boilermakers, winning at Penn State, winning at home last Friday against Nebraska, and then, of course, yesterday afternoon's double overtime victory over Illinois, 96-88 in Champaign. Not only a big win for the Boilermakers, but a big win for, quite frankly, everyone else in the Big Ten who doesn't root for Illinois, because that gave the Illini their first league loss of the season, which means now everyone in the Big Ten Conference has at least 1 loss currently on their record in the conference standings. So a lot to talk about with Coach, and of course, obviously we'll visit about Thursday night's game in Bloomington against the Indiana Hoosiers. So it will be a busy next 55 minutes or so. If you'd like to visit with Coach Painter, here's the phone number, 1-888-246-2678. 1-888-246-2678 to visit with Coach Painter. It is the Matt Painter Show. It's brought to you by GEMCO. We'll be back after this. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Ivy picks up the dribble, feeds Hunter. It's going to be Ivy with 5, up top, deep 3, and it goes. And Ivy silences the crowd. There's Cornwall with 5, crossing over back to Harris, stripped, and a turnover. There's 2 fouls. Pickett being bothered by 2 defenders. Ivy tipped it away, lead pass. Ivy in traffic, catches and is fouled. Stefanovic, give and go with Williams.
Well, Ivy may have been fouled, but when he's attacking the rim, good things happen.
And now the pressure forces a turnover. Williams leads a 3-on-2. Ivy for 3.
And no one's tougher than that kid.
Williams will fake the pass this time. Shoots over Hara and scores. So Williams now. Ivy with 10. Finds Stefanovic off the curl. No look feed to Caleb first. Ivy, Stefanovic to first. Wonderful passing.
To see him standing up on the sideline, coaching these Nittany Lions.
Stefanovic off the feed from Hunter, and down it goes. 13 for Stefanovic, knocking down his 3rd 3 today. Ivy beats Johnson, puts it off the glass and in. Was challenged by Jelani White, no whistle, and Ivy got it to go anyway. He has 12. Williams looked to pass, now trying to back his way against Jelani White with the right hand, and Travion scores with the harm. Here's Gillis, great shooter up top for 3, and it goes. Another good set for Purdue.
You got to get it inside to Williams and let him go to work, at least pick up a foul.
He's not a good free throw shooter, and Williams is, and it'll count.
Welcome back, everyone, to Wolfie's Grill, Wabash Landing, right here in West Lafayette. Rob Blackman here with the head coach of the Boilermakers, Matt Painter. It is the Matt Painter Show, presented by GEMCO. And again, live at Wolfie's Grill with the largest view of the game outside of Mackey Arena. If you'd like to talk with the coach, 1-888-246-2678. That is the number to visit with Coach Painter. And before we get started with the coach, just a personal thank you from me to Tim Newton, who filled in for me 2 weeks ago when I was not able to make it to the show. I was feeling a little bit under the weather, Coach. However, please know this, in my 17 years on the Purdue radio broadcast, that was my first sick day ever. That's pretty good, don't you think?
That's great.
That's right. It's great. You're right. It's not good. It is great. Well, let's talk about Purdue and where we've been since we talked with you 2 weeks ago. 3 victories, Penn State, Nebraska, and, of course, the one yesterday at Illinois. Man, what a game yesterday. Double overtime, winning in Champaign. It is never easy to win in Champaign, regardless of the situation. And the situation yesterday was a physical, tough Big Ten basketball game. That was a grind yesterday. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you. And it was obviously, the one thing that jumps out for me is just like always being prepared for things that you think, might not happen. And obviously there was no intel really, about Curbelo. Like I didn't think that was we had done a couple things differently handling him, because when you deal with Plummer and you deal with Frazier, you really got to stay into the basketball because they'll come off those ball screens and just shoot him so quick. And even though Curbelo could stop behind him and make him, that's not his deal. His deal is wheeling and dealing, which he did a great job of. But he was magnificent the last 10 minutes of the game and in those overtimes. Like he made some unbelievable layups and plays. But I have to do a better job of kind of foreseeing some of that. It's kind of like with Trey McGowan doesn't play in our game. Now he plays in the Indiana game.
Right.
We were more like ready for him and talked about him, and we didn't really talk about Curbelo. So to me, like, it's a great win. I thought our guys, showed some poise, especially in some tough situations. But I had to do a better job of getting them prepared for something that might not happen. But when it does happen, at least you have a game plan going into it. Obviously, we spend a lot of time on Kofi Coburn, and rightfully so. And but part of going and being able to have a defense for him is being aggressive on the offensive end, driving the basketball at him, posting him up, always going to the boards, always boxing him out, just holding him accountable because he's such a force and he's so good. But I also told our guys, like, not a lot of people can prepare for him. Like, you just don't have somebody in your practice like him. Well, we kind of do.
Yeah.
We do have some people in our practice that are pretty big. And, sometimes your focus can get so strong towards your opponent, you forget about some of the strengths that you have, and don't get away from the weapons that you have. And even though we didn't make a lot of shots around the rim, like our percentage wasn't great, just kind of keep going to the well, and just kind of keep sticking there, open some things up, drive the basketball, trying to get Jaden in some opportunities and playing off of that, and also our post-up stuff. But the one thing that, like, from our team, we did show some poise. We had a couple breakdowns from a defensive standpoint, but we did keep our poise and move to the next play, and that's something you're going to have in this league, especially on the road.
I know this may sound maybe a little crazy for the fans, but as I was sitting courtside, you're talking about keeping your poise. It was 24-20 Illinois, about 5 minutes to go in the first half, and I really felt like maybe our team was teetering. Just Illinois had made a push, and Isaiah Thompson hit that three from the right wing. And at least for me, I was as if I felt like that was one of those poise plays you're talking about, because it kind of settled the whole team down.
Yeah. Well, you got yourself in a good position. You got up 9. They go on a 10-0 run, take the lead. You're struggling. We get a couple good shots. Jaden finds Sasha in transition. We find Isaiah again. He misses it. Sasha misses it. Travion gets that offensive rebound, kicks it back out to Isaiah again, and then Isaiah knocks that down. And then we have a great finish to the first half.
Yeah.
That might have been our best segment of the game right there. We did some really good things, and we had a couple daggers that really could have pushed it out. Travion had a layup or two at the rim. We had a couple threes that were open that we missed, but we played really well, and we probably defended the best we did all game in that stretch.
Glad you mentioned that stretch. It's 24. So Isaiah makes the three. It's 24-23 Illinois, about 5.5 to go in the first half. Omar Payne has the elbow to Sasha. We have the double technicals called there. And from that moment on, those final 5 minutes of the first half, they only scored 2 more points, Coach. I mean, you guys really knuckled down, and you talk about how big that push was at the end of the first half. I thought that was maybe the biggest portion of the game for you.
Yeah, no doubt. Just to get and you look how the game unfolded, and you have that kind of a lead. What if you don't have that kind of a lead? You probably lose the game.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very important. It's so important how you finish the half. And we actually do. Caleb first has a great screen. in the middle of the court for Eric Hunter, last play of the game. Last play of the first half.
Right.
And he gets that layup, and then Mason and Caleb are both teeing off for a tip dunk, and they foul each other, and we don't get that. That would have been a great finish to the half, but Eric made a good drive. He just didn't finish it. But both of those guys were on it. Both of those guys were – I'd rather see that. I'd rather see two people going after the ball, and you mess that up, than two guys over there bird watching.
14-2 is how Purdue ended the first half, and what a big stretch that was, because that meant Purdue had a 37-26 lead at halftime. GEMCO Constructors is supporting your Boilermakers as the presenting sponsor of the Matt Painter Show. They're a proud partner of Purdue Athletics. GEMCO Constructors says boiler up. A little bit more on that Purdue-Illinois game when we come back. If you'd like to visit with Coach Painter, the phone number is 1-888-246-2678. Back with more with the coach in a moment. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Hawkins, soft touch as he so often has.
Oh, that's impossible to stop.
Rebounded by Frazier.
I thought Newman should have hit Edey back in the post and let it post up again.
Oh, a rejection by Edey and knocked out of bounds.
Well, Eric Hunter, I like what he's doing. He's pushing the rock for Purdue.
And it sets up Stefanovic for three. Illinois has been able to keep pace to the guards. You touched on it right away. Who's going to step up for him? And the guards have. Edey able to finish two more for Zach Edey. The 4 fouls on Coburn. Here's the 3 from Gillis that's short. Got his own miss. Stefanovic promptly takes advantage.
Oh, good hands by Ivy.
Plummer leaning. Oh, pounded out of bounds. Jaden Ivey. So it's Travion Williams against Bozeman's Verdon. Stefanovic. Got a 3. Sasha Stefanovic drills the triple. Williams given space. Finds Gillis underneath. Able to finish. In Ivy's hands. Working against Curbelo. Around it in. Plummer doesn't need much room. He steps back. Left it short. Boy, he liked it as it left his hand, but it was short. Now here comes Ivy. Oh, what a move! Jaden Ivey. Here comes Ivy with bodies crashing to the floor. Some numbers for the Boilermakers. Ivy finds Stefanovic. Quick trigger. 4-3. Here's Williams. Finds Hunter. Cutting to the basket. Williams finds a cutting Hunter. And again, that set call works to perfect.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Matt Painter Radio Show, live tonight at Wolfie's Grill on a Tuesday night. Quick reminder, our next Coach Painter show is also on a Tuesday. Next Tuesday, 1 week from tonight, we'll have another Tuesday night show. That will be next Tuesday night right here at 6 o'clock at Wolfie's. Then we'll get back to our normal Monday night schedule, which so many of you have been accustomed to. But next week is a Tuesday night show for Coach Painter and myself. Purdue wins yesterday in double overtime over Illinois in the first of 2 meetings. Purdue and Illinois scheduled to play again in February at Mackey Arena. Going back to that win yesterday, Coach, first of all, maybe it wasn't that big of a deal because Purdue has played some 12 noon games this year, but playing at 12 noon on a Monday,
there you go.
Did that strike you just a tad odd?
Not really. You know, it's that's our 3rd noon game. We've won all 3 of them. Our guys have been ready to play at the start of the game. You know, obviously the Butler game, Penn State on the road, now Illinois on the road. So that's always your worry because you kind of get out of your routine, and I think the routine's probably for you more than the players. You just always have done things a certain way. But we take the noon games, and the day before those practices, we just treat them as a shoot around. So the night before. So our guys love that. They love the fact that they have a shoot around.
Right, not a real practice.
Not a real practice. They enjoy that piece of it. But no, you just get yourself ready. Like you're going to play in the NCAA tournament at, you know, we played Texas Tech in the Sweet 16 at 10:10 p.m.
Right.
You know, we played Northern Iowa out on the West Coast. I think it was 11:50 start or 12:50 start or something in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, so you know things happen. Like you win the Big Ten tournament that year, and you play the last game of the regular season, and then you play one of the first games in the NCAA tournament. you know, you've earned that right to get in that position, but then it's a quick turnaround. It's not always going to add up perfectly. And, you know, wherever they line those games up, you know, it's nobody's fault when you miss a game, especially under the circumstances we are with COVID and the pandemic and everything. But when things happen and now they're just going to throw our Michigan game in there somewhere.
Right, right.
And, like, we, you know, give them suggestions, what we think, but they're, like, you're boxed in. There's only a couple slots where it could even work. You're going to have to move a game to slide a game in, and it's just really, really difficult. But it won't be easy, and it won't be ideal, but that's, you know, you sit around and complain, you're probably going to get beat.
Yeah.
Just whatever they say to do, just do it and try to win the game. Give yourself the best chance. So they say we're going to play this game on Monday at noon. Then cool.
Yeah. Now the great thing about it from a viewership standpoint, it was the only show in town, and with it being a federal holiday, quite frankly, there's a lot of eyeballs on that game yesterday with Illinois and Purdue. I want to talk about the play yesterday of Jaden Ivey. Not his best game offensively. He was only 3 of 10 shooting, but he was so aggressive on the bounce. Now, I understand late in the game they were fouling intentionally, but, Coach, he got fouled 10 times in that game, shot 15 free throws, still finished with 19 points and only 3 made field goals.
No, he got fouled 110 times. Right. They just called 10 of them.
Right.
And so that was one of the best hockey games I've ever been a part of. I don't know how, after watching film, I don't know how they differentiate between a foul and not a foul. Because you would watch and you'd be like, I obviously, like, I've had people tell me that they don't want my job, like, but I don't want theirs. That's for sure. That'd have been a really difficult game to officiate. And so you just try your best. But no, we want him to be aggressive. You know, we want him to take, especially when he has space, especially in transition, coming off ball screens, breaking people down, getting there. When people want to overdo it, that's when he's got to spray out and find those guys. And he's done a really good job of that. But just staying aggressive and just kind of talking to him more. You know, he's so talented about what shot do we want and what shot do they want. You know, are you giving them what they want? Or are you giving us what like we want? Right. Like, and then when you watch film, just keep it there. Because a lot of times with a young guy like that, like, they take some things. He's really good when emotion's not involved. Like when he sits and watches film and sees things, like he gets it. But then he gets out there in his competitive juices. Sometimes he'll jump over the fight. Yeah. Just getting him to understand, like, they're at your mercy. When you take those shots that they want, now they got it flipped back on you. Don't give in to that. Like, you find a guy for a wide open shot and he misses it, find him again. You know, if that's what they're going to give you, find him. Now, make sure that he's a good shooter or don't find him, you know.
Yep.
And so for him, like, being in a stance defensively, he's done a much better job on the ball. He's so good, like, when he's alert away from the ball. Like, you see the steals he gets, you'll see a block, you'll see the deflection, whatever it is. But a lot of times he's upright off the ball. Like, get in a stance and get ready. I always talk to him about other sports and other things. I said, you think you could cover an elite receiver out of a stance? Like, you think you could go play cornerback in the NFL and stand straight up and cover? No, you can't cover him. You think you can return, Djokovic's serve in tennis by standing straight up? You ever see someone just stand down there and stand straight up? You think you can rush off the edge in the NFL and go sack a quarterback standing straight up? Like, you got to be in a stance. And so when you're that talented and you're that fast and you're that quick, if you put, the alertness in there on top of it, now your talents just come out all the time instead of randomly. And that's what he's got to get to be that complete guy, is being in a stance, being alert, always knowing what's going on. With that being said, he's made great strides. And he's made a lot of improvements in the areas that I talk about. But he can still grow. He's a colt, man. He's a young dude. And, he's really, really growing. That's why everybody, in the professional level is so excited about him, because they see that huge ceiling, and he has a lot of growth to it, what he's doing. But he's come a long way here in a couple years.
We'll have more in 2 minutes with Coach Painter on the Matt Painter Show, brought to you by GEMCO. Again, if you'd like to visit with Coach Painter, here's the phone number, 1-888-246-2678. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
At Unity Healthcare.
Ivy picks up the dribble, feeds Hunter. It's going to be Ivy with 5, up top, deep 3, and it goes. And Ivy silences the crowd. There's Cornwall with 5, crossing over back to Harris, stripped, and a turnover. There's 2 fouls. Pickett being bothered by two defenders. Ivy tipped it away, lead pass. Ivy in traffic, catches and is fouled. Stefanovic, give and go with Williams.
Well, Ivy may have been fouled, but when he's attacking the rim, good things happen.
And now the pressure forces a turnover. Williams leads a 3-on-2. Ivy for three.
And no one's tougher than that kid.
Williams will fake the pass this time. Shoots over Hara and scores. So Williams now. Ivy with 10. Finds Stefanovic off the curl. No look feed to Caleb first. Ivy, Stefanovic to first. Wonderful passing.
To see him standing up on the sideline coaching these Nittany Lions.
Stefanovic off the feed from Hunter, and down it goes. 13 for Stefanovic, knocking down his third three today. Ivy beats Johnson, puts it off the glass and in. Was challenged by Jelani White, no whistle, and Ivy got it to go anyway. He has 12. Williams looked to pass, now trying to back his way against Jelani White with the right hand, and Travion scores with the harm. Here's Gillis, great shooter up top for three, and it goes. Another good set for Purdue.
You got to get it inside to Williams and let him go to work, at least pick up a foul.
He's not a good free throw shooter, and Williams is and it'll count.
Radio show presented by GEMCO, live tonight at Wolfie's Grill, as we are each and every Tuesday for the most part in the month of January. It's the largest view of the game outside of Mackey Arena right here at Wolfie's Grill. A quick reminder, next Purdue home game is this coming Sunday against Northwestern. That's a pretty big day for Boilermaker athletics fans at Mackey Arena because it's our Hoops and Headlocks Day. It's Purdue basketball, 1 p.m. tip-off against Northwestern Sunday, and then at 4 o'clock, also at Mackey Arena, when basketball is finished, our 12th-ranked Purdue wrestling team will then take to the mats right there inside of Mackey and battle Wisconsin. So you have basketball, wrestling, back-to-back hoops and headlocks this coming Sunday at Mackey Arena. It's going to be a busy day at Mackey for some Boilermaker basketball and Boilermaker wrestling. And again, you know, our Boilermaker basketball team ranked 4th in the country this week, fans. Purdue wrestling ranked 12th in the country. They're having a heck of a season, too. So hopefully you can take in both of those events on Sunday. Coach Painter's alongside. We're putting the finishing touches on the double overtime win against Illinois yesterday. For all the things that went well for the Boilermakers from an underclassman standpoint yesterday, Coach Painter, I think I'm being fair in saying your seniors really got the job done for you late in that game yesterday. Eric Hunter Jr., Travion Williams, Sasha Stefanovic, I thought were fantastic.
Yeah, they all played well. Obviously, Travion had a couple really nice passes to Eric late in I think the second overtime.
Yep, 2 of them in that second overtime.
Yeah, for both layups. We had a couple openings earlier on similar plays that we missed. Guys dive into the rim. Sasha obviously made some huge shots. You know, in the game. He also got rebounds. Him and Jaden both had around 8 rebounds apiece.
Yeah, 8 for Sasha, yeah.
Yeah, and so that was great to see. I thought Eric Hunter's making his free throws, made a huge 3 on top of the key, but made his free throws.
Right.
And wanted the ball there late in the game, and that's what you want from your guards. You want guys that want the ball late in the game. They're coming to double you, trap you, foul you, and you got to be able to get it, make the right play, you know, be able to handle it, be strong as they're fouling you, and go there and knock your free throws down. But defensively, you know, we did some good things. We weren't as consistent as we would like, especially on some of the drives and the breakdowns. They're so good from 3 that you got to stay home with some of those guys. Then their ability to get to the rim with their quickness. But, you know, I thought, you know, Travion and Sasha and Eric really did some good things for us.
You know, the thing with Eric, and you mentioned his free throw shooting down the stretch, which was clutch. He didn't miss a free throw. He's a 55% free throw shooter on the season. Coming into that game, as a coach, is that just a feel late in the game that you're going to keep a guy on the floor with that low of a percentage? You just feel confident that he's going to step up and make them?
Yeah, well, it's 2 things. You know, you got to have people in there that can handle the ball and pass the ball, and then you got to have people, if they do get fouled, that can make them. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times people will just shove in their best free throw shooters, and then if they can't pass and catch and dribble, they're probably going to turn it over.
Oh, yeah,
and so you got to have a balance there with it. You know, even though that was his percentage going into the game, it's not as many attempts He's really been in the low 70s in his career, and so that's more of who he is, in my opinion. Somebody that's in those low to mid 70s, and he's been in the position a lot too. That's another thing that weighs on you as a coach. Anytime somebody makes it, all feels good. When you miss, you're like, hey, what are you doing? Like, why do you have this guy in the game? You're like, well, he doesn't shoot 100%, obviously, so like he missed one.
Well, Mason Gillis
does. And that was my thinking when the technical happened, or the flagrant one, or whatever they called it, was why not put him in there? And because that's what I thought, put Mason in there to shoot. He shoots 100%, but he hasn't shot any when no one's at the line.
Oh, sure.
And that's different. So I don't like putting a guy in that position that's never been in that position. So that's why I didn't put him in there. And then Sasha had already subbed out, but he was in the game when he got elbowed, so he was actually the one that got elbowed. But I put him to the line just because he's been there. He's a good free throw shooter, first of all, and then he's been in that position before.
Defensively, we talked about this after the Wisconsin loss, and you basically said, look, I've been trying to tell you guys all year, we're just not good enough defensively. We're now 3 games post-Wisconsin. Do you feel like your team has made strides in those 3 games?
Yeah, there's no question we've made strides, but we're also a possession away from losing the last game. So, everybody, you feel good about everything because you end up winning it.
Right.
So, everybody feels good as a whole, and then you would feel bad as a whole if you lost by 1 point. But the data would be the same. There wouldn't be a whole lot of difference in a loss and a win in terms of your data, whatever. You're still the same team defensively. Now, what winning a close game or winning an overtime or double overtime game does, it gives you confidence. And it gives those guys more experience of being in close games and having poise and being able to win those games. But you're still the same team. We're still inconsistent in the area. But are we better than the Wisconsin? Since the Wisconsin game, yes, we have been better. But it's your ability to play on the road. It's your ability to adjust to a different concept or a different team. So, like, when you go play Penn State, you're on the road, it's a different team. You go now home, you play Nebraska, different style. All right, but now you're at home. You get off to a good start. Right. Now you go to Illinois, obviously a different scheme. Quickness, skill, size, very good. They're a very, very good team. And so, that's the ability to adjust there. But there's also pillars of the game that do not change. Can you take care of the basketball? Can you rebound the basketball? Can you execute on the offensive end? Can you have a competitive spirit that's better than your opponent? Those things are every game. So, a lot of times, you got to prepare for your next opponent, but don't forget about the most important team, and that's your team. Have your team ready. If your team's in the right frame of mind and they're going to compete and they'll stick to those pillars right there, you're probably going to have success. You just are. It's going to take a pretty good team to get you if you have the size, the skill, the experience like we do.
More with Coach Painter in a moment. Matt Painter Show presented as always by GEMCO. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield. GEMCO Constructors is supporting your Boilermakers as the presenting sponsor of the Matt Painter Show. Proud partner of Purdue Athletics, GEMCO Constructors says boiler up. This reminder, our next broadcast comes your way Thursday night, Purdue at Indiana. Boilermakers visiting the Simon Scott Assembly Hall for a 7 o'clock tip-off. 6 o'clock for the broadcast, 7 o'clock for the tip, Purdue at Indiana. And then our next game after that will be the 1 o'clock game Sunday, Purdue at Mackey Arena taking on Northwestern. If you'd like to visit with Coach, here's the phone number, 1-888-246-2678, 1-888-246-2678. With that, we will take a phone call. This is Matt calling from Massachusetts. Matt from Massachusetts, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks very much. Coach, I was just wondering about Zach. Yesterday, he seemed a lot more confident. He was chirping a little bit. He didn't seem to be getting stuck dribbling 2 or 3 times after he catches. Just how much has he progressed this year? And thanks for that, and thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you, first of all. He's done well. Like he can get into some binds sometimes. It depends on how you want to defend him. Like they were going to stay one-on-one with him, so it's a little bit different. He had one play where he dribbled 5 times. I think that's the first time all year he's had probably in more than 2 dribbles. He might have had 3 dribbles a couple times, but normally it's a dribble. Like you want to get the deep position and make your move without a dribble, or make 1 dribble into your move, at the most 2. But like some people will scrape ball side and really attack it. It just depends. Some people will come big to big on a double, and some people will leave him by himself. And I think they just felt like physically they could keep him, away from that. He did a good job early of spinning off. He's got a good left, and sometimes he just doesn't have the confidence to go to it all the time. But he's got a good left hand, but he's got to get deeper. And when he does, now he can go either way, and I think that really helps him. He got bottled up a couple times. They stood him up a couple times. They allow you to push in the back and get him off his spot. Like we had a couple post-ups at 15 feet, and Zach's 300 pounds, and I know he's big or whatever, but like there's just only so much you can do if that's what they're going to allow you to do. But the 2 hands in the back, they're given a rule in terms of the arm bar. You can put a bent elbow on them, and I just don't understand when they put 2 hands on them. They're giving you a rule to use your arm bar. So you're within that box 12 feet from the basket, you can arm bar them and just really kind of wail on them. And you're not supposed to, but that's what you can do. You just get under them and you push as hard as you can push. So when people put an open hand on them or 2 hands on them and they get them off and they're that way, it's just an automatic foul. Any referee who's watching, sitting there at home, and say, yeah, that's automatic. There's just certain things. 2 hands on the ball handler, 2 hands on a post guy, especially when the ball's in flight. They're automatics. And it happens, and you go back and watch tape, and it just doesn't get called all the time. I don't understand those. Now, the other thing that an official will tell you, one of quality, would tell you that you can't mess with the shooter. So when I go to shoot the basketball, like you got to let me land when I shoot. Sasha shot a 3 other day. Comes down, the guy doesn't let him land, automatic, 3 free throws, they call it. I was during the game, I'm like, man, I don't know if that's a foul. Then you go back and watch it, it's absolutely a foul. But when Zach maneuvers and he shoots, they're letting people hit his arm. We've had a couple air balls, and I'm like, man, dang, Zach, you're going to shoot an air ball from 5 feet? You go back and watch the tape, yeah. Someone smacks his forearm. And so, like, that's what I don't get, and how they can't see that, because everything gets centered when you catch the basketball and you're at the rim. When you're at the rim and you're in that area, it opens up for an official, because now you can see through things, and things kind of hold tight, especially when people don't come in double and they leave you one-on-one. I think it's easy to see that when there's a lot of bodies coming in and there's double teams and there's more people around, kind of looks like there's an octopus on him, because now, like, there's so many arms and so many things moving. There's just a lot of variables there. But when that's simple like that and it's one-on-one and they hit him on the arm, I just don't understand how that doesn't get called every single time. But he handles it, and he kind of pushes through that and handles those calls. And that's what I told him. I said, like, you are not going to get as many calls on the road. Like, when you go to Illinois or you go to Indiana or you go to Michigan, you're not going to get the calls. I said, but what you got to understand is it works against you and it works for you too. It's not like you don't get the benefit of that sometimes. Mm-hmm. But those are some things, how many officials go and see somebody 7'4", 300 pounds in college on a nightly basis that have skills that can make shots around the rim. Right. Like how many guys in college basketball have that kind of size and that kind of skill? There's one, and we got him. All right. Now, how many people are 6'11", 280, and built like Kofi Coburn? There's one. There just is. Now, like Trayvion's 6'10", 260, 250, depending on the day. Yeah. There's 15, 20, 25, 30 guys like that. Maybe there's probably none of them that can pass like he can. Probably a lot of them aren't as good as he is. But there's still some people that they see like him. Right. Like you don't see people like Kofi and like Zach. So I think that adjustment for officials is really hard. If I was an official, I was reffing Big Ten, I'd watch a lot of tape. I'd watch a lot of tape anyways. I'd want to be good at what I do. And then I'd watch the guys, like the guys that flop, the guys that act, the guys that are doing that stuff, but the guys that, bring their feet forward in threes, things of that nature, the floppers and all that stuff. But I'd also want to get it right. I'd want to get in. The thing that jumps out at me is when they mess up when guys get hit on their shots, especially at the rim. Like that to me is that's an easier call than some of the others.
Of all the things that have impressed me the most about Zach Edey this year, maybe the fact, Coach, that he only plays 17 minutes a game. I think most fans don't realize. Now, he played 27 minutes yesterday. That number gets skewed because we had an extra 10 minutes of the game with overtimes.
Right.
But Zach puts the numbers up that he puts 15 points, 7.5 rebounds a game at 17 minutes a game.
Right.
That's hard to do.
We got to talk to the coach.
Well, the problem, of course, as you well know, is you got Travion Williams, who's going to play 20 minutes, who's also gives you something in the low post.
Yeah, no, it's a great problem to have. It's a great problem, and that's we have a little bit of that benefit. It's like if you have one guy of their status, and Illinois has one guy, we have two of them.
Right.
And so that's not fair. Well, go recruit two of them then. Right. Go get two really good big guys then. Right. No one handcuffed anybody from not going to get the next guy, but what you have to do, that has to be our advantage. Mm-hmm. Like that, you can't. I think refereeing, they try to balance things out. Like one of the dumbest things coaches can say or fans can say, and fans say it all the time, and I haven't said it in a long time, even though I've said it before, is, man, the fouls are 8-2. Well, you fouled 8 times, they fouled twice. Like what is that? Like, well, even, and they go and even them out. They can't say they don't go even them out. Have you ever watched a game and you say it's 8-3, and you've just watched enough games, and you elbow the person next to you and go, I bet you in 4 minutes it's going to be 8-8.
Well, look at the Nebraska game last Friday. It was 6-0 right out of the gate fouls.
Yeah.
And then it was quickly then, I think, 8-8.
No question. It happens all the time. Why does that happen? You say, well, it's a law of averages or whatever. They have been, whether it's conscious or unconscious or however you want to look at it, to balance things out. Well, games aren't balanced out. This team here is fouling more than this team. Now, maybe they do foul the same, but it's always driven me crazy. Like, they're in the bonus, we're not in the bonus. Like, well, you guys foul. And then I like the stats that show you who calls more fouls on the road, who calls more fouls at home. I like those stats with referees because now you kind of know going in, like, hey, this guy's a little bit of a Homer Simpson. Like, you gotta know what you're dealing with here.
Are those numbers up for public knowledge? Would you know? Can we find them as fans? I'd like to see those.
If I've got them, then they're public knowledge.
I think a lot of fans would like to see those.
Yeah, they run a lot of different, like, people will do different kind of web pages of it.
Okay.
And different stuff, like who calls the most technicals, who calls the least, what's someone's record at home versus being on the road, who calls the most, that's pretty detailed.
Well, give me something to do tonight. More with Coach Painter in a moment. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
Yeah, with that lack of post depth, and Stefanovic, well, you can't give him two. The Nebraska Cornhuskers. Ivy off the bounce. What a pass! And Edey throws it down through the contact. Away. Up ahead, Hunter finding Williams. Here comes Ivy. Ivy doing it all himself. Oh, boy. And that has been what he has been able to provide, a spark for Purdue and Matt Painter. What a hit, and he passes it pretty well, too. What a pass. Eduardo Andre has it taken away. Gillis steps through, missed it. Guess who didn't miss it? Jaden Ivey. Walker lost it, but saved it. And Wiltshire has it stripped. Ethan Morton. Ivy, step back three, yes. Man, it is that tough. But picked up here by Hunter. Getting in the paint, finding Edie with a two-handed jam. Edie's got a couple of those. Now Purdue can hold here for the final shot. Going into Williams. Williams up and in. They've lost 9 of 10. Fred Hoiberg's third season. Trying to find some momentum. Well, that's not going to help. Zach Edey at 7-4.
Matchup zone. Just trying to confuse and keep Purdue off kilter.
That's hard to do. Edey, he's tough to keep off kilter. Trying to drop it off. Boy, I thought he maybe could have just laid that in. Back to Edey. 2 more. Happy that he stood there looking at the official.
Presented by GEMCO, live at Wolfie's Grill, with the largest view of the game outside of Mackey Arena. Time now for our Pro Boiler feature, where we look at a former Boilermaker student athlete doing and how they're doing in their professional sports career. Pro Boilers is presented by Indiana Kitchen Premium Pork Products. Get to know us at indianakitchen.com. Both our Pro Boilers and Indiana Kitchen are boiler made. And tonight we give a tip of the cap to Dakota Mathias. You may have seen this over the last couple of weeks. He's signed not 1 but 2 10-day contracts to play for the Memphis Grizzlies. A pretty good spot to be in when you consider the Grizzlies are currently first in their division, 31-15 on the season. Dakota has played in 6 games so far in his limited opportunities with the Grizz. He is in those 6 games, very Dakota Mathias-like. He's attempted 6 3-point shots. No 2s, all 3s for Dakota. 2 of 6 from 3 in the 6 games he's played so far. So good news for Dakota Mathias, not only getting some run in the NBA, but playing for a really good team, which is always good. So how about that? So his senior class, you think back to that senior group there, he and PJ and Isaac and Vince. If I would have told you back then, Coach, that come 2022, Dakota Mathias, he'd be the guy of that group of 4 that's on an active NBA roster, would you have thought, yeah, that sounds about right?
Well, he's fit from an efficiency standpoint. Like, he's always been probably the best, most efficient player that we've had.
Yeah.
That gets the ball a lot. Sometimes you can have, like, Grady Eifert was the #1 efficient player in the country in that last season that he played, but he doesn't get the ball a lot. Like, Carson had the ball all the time.
Yeah.
So Grady took layups and putbacks and wide open threes, and so didn't turn the ball over, got offensive rebounds, shot good percentages, so he's efficient. Well, Dakota had the ball in his hands a lot, so he had a great assist turnover ratio, shot well from 2, shot well from 3, shot well from the free throw line, and he was one of the best defenders in our league. So when you look at a two-way player. And now, like, when you move from high school to college, that's my evaluation mode there. That's where I have to know what I'm doing. Like people say, well, I get in high school, this guy's a pro and that guy's a pro. Well, okay, that's fine, but they're 16. Like, they're going to go and play at least a year in college, 2 years in college, whatever it might be. So you got to be able to project where they're going to be there. It's the next people, the organizations in the NBA, that's got to project then past that. But I think sometimes things can get kind of stereotypical. Like, when I first saw him, like, he didn't move well through his hips. And so I'm like, man, this dude is smart. He's tough. He can shoot. But, man, he can't move out in space. Like, he's going to struggle. Like, we can get this better, but I don't think we can ever get it good. And I was wrong there because he's really leaned out. He's really dedicated himself, and he's in great shape. But he put a lot of time in the weight room of being able to move. You got to be able to move laterally and keep the ball in front of you and guard people. And that's where he's made his improvement. But he can move he can move and shoot. A lot of times people say, hey, this guy can really shoot. Like, other day, like, think about all the shots Sasha Stefanovic hit. Like, it's on the move.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's a hard thing to do. But if you can see it and you see somebody out there from a high school standpoint that can do those things, that means more than somebody just being a standstill shooter, even though there's value in that. Ryan Klein can move and shoot. Sasha can move and shoot. Dakota can move and shoot. Carson can move and shoot. Some people that we've had are more step-in type shooters, and that's okay. You work with them in that area, and if they can't ever get – it's those guys that are naturally that can turn their body all in one thing. I always call Klein like he was like a fly fisherman. Like, it looks funky, but, man, it looks smooth at the same time. Yeah. And so, like, he made it after you saw him shoot a while, you'd be like – you could tell, like, hey, this is – if he let him turn his shoulders, man, he's going to make this right here, and he could just do it all in one movement. But his ability to play on both ends, I think that's what separate guys, and you got to understand that, like, you're not going to probably be a superstar. So where do you fit in a box to help that superstar out? Like Carson Edwards was our superstar. All those guys fit in with him and made us a good team. Like now Dakota Mathias, he always fit in with us. Like Robbie Hummel, like he was an All-American for us as a role player. Even though he has good numbers, he's really playing off of Juwan and Etuan when he played. You know, and so I think those type of things, when you look at NBA players, it holds true for them. They have to find those role guys, and I think he's a perfect role guy. And if he could really get a chance with somebody, like you never want to wish ill will on people, but like if some people get injuries or some things happen or trades happen, like if he could just get that opportunity, I think if he could get a lot of games, they would really see the other things that he does that help a team win.
More with Coach Painter in a moment. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Ivy picks up the dribble, feeds Hunter. It's going to be Ivy with 5, up top, deep 3, and it goes. And Ivy silences the crowd. There's Cornwall with 5, crossing over, back to Hara, stripped, and a turnover. There's 2 fouls. Pickett being bothered by 2 defenders. Ivy tipped it away, lead pass. Ivy in traffic, catches, and is fouled. Stefanovic, give and go with Williams.
Well, Ivy may have been fouled, but when he's attacking the rim, good things happen.
And now the pressure forces a turnover. Williams leads a 3-on-2. Ivy for 3.
And no one's tougher than that kid.
Williams will fake the pass this time, shoots over Hara and scores. So Williams now. Ivy with 10, finds Stefanovic off the curl. No look feed to Caleb first. Ivy, Stefanovic to first. Wonderful passing.
To see him standing up on the sideline, coaching these Nittany Lions.
Stefanovic off the feed from Hunter, and down it goes. 13 for Stefanovic, knocking down his 3rd 3 today. Ivy beats Johnson, puts it off the glass and in, was challenged by Jelani White, no whistle, and Ivy got it to go anyway. He has 12. Williams looked to pass, now trying to back his way against Jelani White with the right hand, and Travion scores with the harm. Here's Gillis, great shooter up top for 3, and it goes. Another good set for Purdue.
You got to get it inside to Williams and let him go to work, at least pick up a foul.
He's not a good free throw shooter. And Williams is moved, and it'll count.
Grill with Purdue head coach Matt Painter on the Matt Painter Radio Show. You can tell I haven't hosted the show in over a month because I'm out of practice here, Coach. I've gotten us way behind schedule here on the show. So if you could to help me here in 30 seconds, can you give me the scouting report on Indiana for this Thursday?
Well, obviously they just won their first road game against Nebraska. Very good defensively. When you look on their numbers, like they're very good in the half court. They've really made some strides in that area. They're guards that do a really good job. They bring some guys off the bench, Finney, Galloway, that have really given them a lift from a defensive standpoint and offensively. They really turned their defense into offense. Trace Jackson-Davis is fabulous, one of the best players in the country. Race Thompson's a very physical, rebounding, unique guy. He can make some plays, but he does a good job of really playing off of them. They've added some transfers in there, in Johnson, in Kopp, Parker Stewart. Kopp and Stewart can really shoot the basketball. So they got I'm missing a couple guys. Geronimo played really well in the last game. So they have a really good team, but they have depth. They have a lot of different guys they can go with. But more than anything, defense travels. And Mike's done a good job. And but I'm really impressed with how they are defensively. And your hands are tied a little bit here when you're dealing with Trace Jackson-Davis. He's very unique, very quick, powerful, skilled, can score the basketball. So it's going to be a tough game for us.
Our final segment coming up. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.
Hawkins, soft touch as he so often has.
Oh, that's impossible to stop.
Rebounded by Frazier.
I thought Newman should have hit Edey back in the post and let it post up again.
Oh, a rejection by Edey. It knocked out of bounds.
Well, Eric Hunter, I like what he's doing. He's pushing the rock for Purdue.
And it sets up Stefanovic for 3. And Illinois has been able to keep pace to the guards. You touched on it right away. Who's going to step up for him? And the guards have. Edey Able to finish 2 more for Zach Edey. For the 4 fouls on Coburn. Here's the 3 from Gillis that's short. Got his own miss. Stefanovic promptly takes advantage.
Oh, good hands by Ivy.
Plummer leaning. Oh, pounded out of bounds. Jaden Ivey. So it's Travion Williams against Bozeman's Verdon. Stefanovic. Got a 3. Sasha Stefanovic drills the triple. Williams given space. Finds Gillis underneath. Able to finish. In Ivy's hands. Working against Curbelo. Around it in. Plummer doesn't need much room. He steps back. Left it short. Boy, he liked it as it left his hand, but it was short. Now here comes Ivy. Oh, what a move! Jaden Ivey! Here comes Ivy with bodies crashing to the floor. Some numbers for the Boilermakers. Ivy finds Stefanovic. Quick trigger for 3. Here's Williams. Finds Hunter. Cutting to the basket. Williams finds a cutting.
Final segment here of the Matt Painter Radio Show, everyone. And as we get ready to sign off here, I would like to acknowledge the play-by-play voice of Purdue football and Purdue women's basketball. He's in the house, standing to my immediate right, Tim Newton, everyone. A huge round of applause for Tim, because earlier today, Tim was named the 2021 Indiana Sportscaster of the Year by the National Sports Media Association. How cool is that? An award well-deserved, Mr. Newton. First time a Boilermaker announcer has won this award since the late, great Jill McConnell won it back in 2000. So, way to go, Tim. Congratulations, man. That is awesome. Hey, a couple of quick things for you fans. Remember, our next broadcast comes your way Thursday night, Purdue at Indiana. The Boilermakers at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall to face the Hoosiers. That is a 6 o'clock broadcast time, 7 o'clock for the tip-off. So 6 o'clock broadcast, 7 o'clock tip, and then back at home Sunday for the 1 o'clock tip-off against Northwestern. Our broadcast on that day begins at high noon, and of course then Purdue Wrestling immediately follows the Boilermaker basketball at Mackey Arena Sunday afternoon. Thank you to Nate Strope, who was our in-studio engineer today. Thank you to our on-site audio engineer, Wes Scott. I'm Rob Blackman. We will speak to you from Bloomington Thursday night. Thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield.